welcome. Lyrical is actually casting this. He's just having technical difficulties, so hopefully all of you can hear us loud and clear. Welcome to Star Ladder I-League Series 13. We've got E-Wolves versus Digital Chaos, a match I think we're all pretty dang excited for on the Americas stream. It's a best of three. We're going to be jumping right into it because we've got some bans and picks going out. Of course, Doom Band, Alk. And just so you folks know, that is 1437 standing in for Digital Chaos while they're looking for their fifth. So we're going to be seeing more mercenary action coming out from him. So
reserve time.
And yeah, by the way, apparently I will just do this draft solo because poor Lyrical just fixing his mic just broke. You know how it is. Cat chewing on it or whatever. But either way, I think a lot of these picks and bans look pretty standard, but this means that Darkseer is in the pool, and we're also going to be having Wyvern, Dazzle, a lot of those strong heroes out. And yeah, it's the Wyvern. First pick for E-Wolves.
Never fear, I'm back.
There we go.
I've done it.
Okay, excellent. There we go.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, sorry about that one. We are here, Elite Wolves versus DC in the Star Ladder North American playoffs. Very sorry about that. There was a couple of quick problems that ended up coming out. My mic died in front of my face, and that was awful. At Lyrical Dota, at Llama Down Under, doing this one again.
Yeah,
sorry.
that might help. Sorry. Yeah, but yeah, it's looking pretty standard. Something I'm really interested to see. Elite Wolves tend to, overall, when you look at all of the matches they've ever played as a team and some of these players, they pick earlier lineups. And so I'm really interested to see what they go for here, because DC has a lot of really experienced players on it. And if you give them, if you just go for an early lineup against them where they can pick one that maybe peaks a bit later, they'll probably be able to push it out.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's definitely one of those moments here where you sort of value experience in the late game always, and late game decision making is going to end up deciding those games, how they end up turning out. I think that Winter Wyvern is probably one of the heroes that does scale best into the late game, and while you can't really undervalue the amount of experience that somebody ends up happening, if you do end up just drafting those heroes to be able to scale well into that late game, you're going to have a good time. So the Darkseer Dazzle combo gives you a lot of sustainability. Obviously, if you end up going for that Darkseer, you can tend to go for a mechanism relatively early, and I wouldn't entirely be surprised to see Elite Wolves maybe think about going for that Ancient Apparition at a later stage in this game, particularly when you combo that up with the Winter Wyvern. It's just such a great sped up for that spell. And they're going to start out with the Gyrocopter first, so another great one there. So pretty great. Curious to see where they end up going with the next set of bans, and I think that I don't know, I guess if they're going to go for the Ancient Apparition, it seems like they would have gone for it second. That does leave you a little bit light on your disables at the early stages.
Yeah, and it's something where with the Alk Alk's banned out, maybe folks will decide not to go for the AA here, but you still have to be careful because Digital Chaos could just be picking a Huskar, right? They've got the Dazzle. Darkseer, well, Huskar doesn't have great synergy as a carry there. I mean, Huskar can be your one carry, and then maybe you go with an Ember Spirit, who's actually your real carry, who Huskar just makes a lot of space for by continually life-breaking people. So lots of options there. As you said, A might come out, but they got some bans. Maybe it's just going to be time for them to ban some strong carries that, as you said, they don't have the lockdown for. So yeah, Phantom Lancer, Anti-Mage, or the Bane. Everybody loves the Bane.
Everybody loves Bane. Why not? It's something that's interesting always. There's that option, considering that we've been seeing it more and more, even at the Frankfurt majors, people run in Huskar almost continuously. It's just something that you always have to account for in your draft, and with a Gyrocopter in particular, who relies a lot upon his early game magical damage to be able to nuke somebody down. If you've got a hero with the Berserker's Blood going, I mean, you're not going to be able to take him down that way. We do end up seeing DC take away a bit of the cheese with the Broodmother already taken out of the pool, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Elite Wolves ban out the Huskar here, particularly with the Broodmother, another hero that can counter Huskar in lane because of just the single target focus that he has. And it's upsetting to me that we're getting into the stages now where you're having to talk about sort of second phasing banning the Huskar constantly, but they're going to take out the Spear Breaker instead.
I mean, it's also something where Elite Wolves, as I said, they're one of the teams that does some earlier lineups. They're also one of the few teams that actually still run Chen, and they run stuff that's maybe a bit out there compared to other teams. They've run the Legion Commander mid a few times, I think. They'll run the Chen. They'll run Ogre Magi heroes that I don't think are terribly picked in this meta. So
Yeah, and I think that Ogre and those other type of heroes, sometimes you see them dying. They end up getting thrown on in there to that mid lane to
Radiant
mess
team
around with
pick.
those heroes a little bit. They do end up banning out that Ancient Apparition last. And I was saying that, it's a lot of sustain that you see out of DC. It seems to make sense that they might want to take that hero out of the pool. Of course, if Elite Wolves did do that, then you end up running a situation where you don't have as much lockdown. Currently, they only have really, two forms of serious disable, one of which is an ulti, and the other one doesn't really tend to get skilled until later stages of the game. But another pick here for
10
Digital
seconds
Chaos, if
remaining.
they wanted to, they could go a little bit more for that wombo combo style. Of course, also
5 seconds
this lineup of
remaining.
Digital Chaos is sort of dynamic enough that you're going to be able
Dire
to
team pick.
push out waves consistently if you wanted to go for a more split pushy lineup, and Darkseid are great at being able to hold high ground. But with the Lina there, I like this pick a lot. With Dazzle already out of the pool, this is going to be a great way to burst on down the gyrocopter.
Yeah, he's someone who early on, he's very squishy as long as you can get up in his face, and if you burst him, certainly he doesn't have his magic output, but it's kind of odd. I really do feel like banning the
10
AA,
seconds
maybe they
remaining.
just did it for the Dazzle, and potentially Doxy, very
Radiant
commonly a
team
hero
pick.
that goes for a mech. It feels a bit odd to ban the AA just for the Dazzle, so I'm kind of expecting maybe an Undying, or maybe that Husker that we talked about from Digital Chaos, although into an Earthshaker, you can still definitely kill the Earthshaker, but that's now starting to have E-Wolves have a bit of lockdown. That is the one thing Huskar can't take. So
Certainly. Well, I think the other thing here is that maybe for the A, it's just the counter push
10
that you're a little
seconds
bit worried
remaining.
about too, because if this lineup wants to group on up and team fight a lot, like
5
you have a
seconds
Darkseer
remaining.
vacuum into Light Striker right now, as well as whatever other combos they can bring on up with their next two picks. So
Reserve
if
time.
that's going to be the case, and this is the type of lineup they want to go for, early pushing down towers and taking objectives, AA is somebody that can really mess up that sort of flow of your game. Uh, I don't know. Lena's kind of one of those interesting heroes where you can sort of play her in a support role or in the mid role. And consistently throughout the past two patches, it's been Lena that's been mid most often. Do you have a favorite place for this hero in this meta?
yeah, I feel like, as you said, she can be played anywhere, and part of that is she has a flash farming mechanism. If you play her in the mid lane, of course, she's going to get that Yules, then the Ags up very quickly. But if you play her in a support role, she can get both of those items at pretty decent timing either way. I am a big fan of the Windrunner mid. A lot of people think it's kind of cheesy this patch, but she's undeniably a strong hero. And I don't think Digital Chaos have shown too much of what they've got, so they really could be flexible. I certainly do like the vacuum into light strike array that we're seeing here, and it just also could have been, as I think you already touched on it a bit, but Winter Wyvern's ult can help set up a nice AA blast, and it's one of the few where Wyvern's ult does 70% damage reduction on people attacking the
Dire
cursed
team
unit.
pick.
But AA Blast is a debuff that you don't mind if they don't, like, you want them to take max damage, but even if they just get the debuff, it helps your team fight a lot. And it's Bane! They got a lot of purple heroes here for Digital Chaos, I'm just saying.
Absolutely. Now I just need one other blue one, so that way when they mix on up the Lena and
Yeah.
whoever's blue, it's going to be some purple as well. Fun fact for all you folks out there, purple is my favorite color. Anyways, though, moving on to the next one, Bane. It's kind of an interesting
10
Bane pick
seconds
here.
remaining.
You've got Winter Wyvern ulti that can break it in, multiple different ways, either
5
casting it
seconds
individually on the Bane himself or just casting in the area of him. Obviously, you don't necessarily want to have to commit
Reserve
that
time.
to be able to break out of a Fiend's grip. Gyrocopter, we've touched on the fact that homing missile doesn't tend to get skilled up early. The real hero that I'm concerned about is that Earthshaker has that non-targetable stun, so even if you end up getting something like a Glimmer Cape up on the Bane, it could still be able to break away from
Radiant
that one. And
team back.
Invoker is going to be the next pick. Very, very cool. So this is going to be, I'm assuming, a Smash Invoker. Very, very interesting. This is a hero that's been getting picked a lot more. Quas Wex or Quas Exor. What are your feelings so far this game? Although with four
So-
in heroes, I
10
feel like I know what you're going to
seconds
say.
remaining.
Oh, no. I mean, obviously there's that factor. You can get rid of
5
a lot of
seconds
people's
remaining.
mana with the EMP. It really depends on the game plan, right? If you're going for Exalt makes you win the lane. It's sometimes hard to set up the Sunstrikes without some backup, but they do have an Earthshaker who, you can fissure someone off. It makes it a bit easier to hit the Sunstrike, especially if Gyrocopter is getting very aggressive on people, but making them be almost dead, like often happens in lane with a Doxy who surges away. That's also easy Sunstrike targets, and it certainly helps you win the lane. If E-Wolves decide no, our game plan is that we're going to fight
10
early, they
seconds
might prefer
remaining.
the Quas Wex just because it does lend itself more to a team fight, unless the Invoker gets
5
really ahead in
seconds
levels, in
remaining.
which case it doesn't matter. So I think it's really just going to depend, and Smash probably has a preference, which I
Reserve
wish
time.
were some stats I could pull up right now. I'm like, just excuse me while I go stalk his Dota buff, see what he plays, because a lot of it also comes down to that. I'm sure Smash can
10
play either,
seconds remaining.
but he probably prefers one greatly and is just going to defer to that.
Well, I
5
think also
seconds
meta plays
remaining.
into it. We do end up seeing the Juggernaut as the last man out of
Radiant
Elite Wolves,
team pick.
where more often than not what we've been seeing is getting the early points, like one early point in Exort or one early point in Wex, regardless of if you're going for a Quas Wex or a Quas Exort, just to be able to get up the alacrity and increase your ability to farm. Oh god, and we're going to see him. Mr.
I mean, we all
Huskar,
knew it was coming, right?
right?
Like, we knew. Ugh, it's still disgusting, even though we knew it.
Yeah, I think now maybe this gives a little bit more credence to the idea of Invoker going for the Exort build, just because you're going to be able to get up those levels in the Sunstrike, create that pure damage. With one last pick now, they still got answers that they can turn this back around. Like, Earthshaker's certainly not the best support hero
10
as much as we saw him in 6.83 and 6.84, but can definitely be effective in that
5
role. So
seconds
I'm
remaining.
wondering now if you end up switching out the Earthshaker to another role and get a different offlaner who can deal more
Reserve
effectively with
time.
Huskar, or possibly you just end up seeing the Earthshaker go for then that's what they're gonna do. So I was thinking that might be a decent idea. The other option would have been to just get a lot of levels in Enchant Totem and try and go for a physical damage build. But I think this is pretty good.
Well, it is something where in lane, if you can deny the Huskar any farm, you'll call that a win. Huskar's really not a hero as well who farms creeps excellently, so disrupting that a little bit. He's obviously got no wave clear. He's here to kill heroes. The other potential upside I see for E-Wolves with this draft is they have much better team fight. It seems like, just looking at their heroes, than maybe Digital Chaos does. Yes, Huskar can pound a lot of spears into people, but his setup for that is kind of relying on a nice vacuum into a nice light strike array. As you said, they've got a couple of things here to break the Fiend's grip. Where's the rest of the lockdown? They got some slows.
10
So
seconds
maybe
remaining.
they can outplay them on the team fights for Elite Wolves, but into a Huskar, it's always
5
dangerous, because
seconds
even if you
remaining.
outplay the other team, you may all end up dead just because you took too many burning spears in the process.
Yeah, and I think that DC played this just about as well as they could in terms of getting the exact draft that they wanted. You could have said it was a little bit greedy, and the Huskar pick might have been a little bit
Prepare for
telegraphed,
battle.
just by the fact that they ended up going for all of these heroes that sort of are really good in the early game. And obviously Darkseer is always going to be relevant, Lena's always going to be relevant, but they don't really have that crazy other late game core there. It's just going to be mainly the one core with, I guess, a Lena scaling well into the late game. Also, you can always end up going for the refresher on the Lena after you end up getting the Aghanim Scepter. But if you take a look at the lineup for Elite Wolves, I feel like it just scales so well right now. But we'll do a quick little introduction of all the players. I'll try and do Elite Wolves XD, XD, XD. I think that this should be, is this Stinger or Van?
No, it's EO. Who are we talking about? Oh, sorry, I actually do have the names up.
Okay,
so,
cool.
Who were you asking about? The Gyro or?
Well, actually, we're going to get a little bit of an engagement down
Oh,
here in the
gosh.
bottom lane as TC ends up getting found out, and he's going to get the fissure applied to him. This isn't the way you want to start your Huskar game. 3 people hit by the Light Strike right now, and suddenly turning it back around. Masuko ends up going down. That's going to be first blood going the way of the Bane. Queen of Pain gets the kill on the Huskar in the end, and now Mystico getting chased on out of here by the Bane and the Dazzle. If they're able to get the good angle on him, they might be able to get one last hit. They need 2 to be able to get it. The slow being applied, but there's the Brain Sap, and that's going to be another kill. Now Queen of Pain just has to run away in fear as her nightmares have become real. Bane just causing trouble for her.
Yeah, and even though the Huskar went down, TC getting off to a great start. Like, he's pretty dang happy with that. They got the first blood. He got some nice AoE gold, and I'm pretty sure he'd already bought all of his gold out, so it didn't matter too much. So very happy. Now, we were saying who were we worried about? It used to be Stinger. I want to say it's Stinger. We'll just go with that
So
while I just double check, because I know
This
they
one
had.
is actually, it's Vans. So they switched on
It's
out
Vans.
IWO up on the top lane for the gyrocopter. And he's been the one that just got brought in recently. It's also worth noting that we do have a 2-man smoke going on through the jungle with the Winter Wyvern and the Earthshaker roaming on in on the backside. So this is Queen of Pain getting zoned out by the Bane. And it looks like they might try and wrap around here. Do you think they can find this kill?
I think it's really ambitious here. Yeah, the Bane's far out. I mean, they're not going to find it on the Huskar. It looks like, oh, they're going for it. Bane is just dead. They don't even need the smoke. A Fissure on the wrong side, actually, but they're ranged heroes. Can they get it with the Octic? They need one more auto, and that's going to be it. Unfortunate on the Fissure there. So, yeah, and as you're right, it looks like Stinger was removed. Iwo now playing on the hard carry role. This is kind of interesting because it makes all the stats moot. I was going to mention Van, of course, does have a somewhat famous gyrocopter in the scene, and oh, we don't have time to talk. No, it looks like it'll just be some dewarding shenanigans, no actual engagement. But yeah, Van's gyro pretty famous, and so not gonna have any stats on Ewo's.
Well, I think that the other thing is just this is kind of indicative of the scene that South American Dota, I feel like, has been gyrocopter's been a mainstay in that region, and it's tends to be like an early rotation down to gank the enemy safe lane. You end up seeing once the gyrocopter gets level 6, you can smoke on up behind the tier 1 tower in the bot lane, and then make some type of initiation smoke play with the rest of your supports. And it's kind of a different situation now, as we do end up seeing Vayne possibly getting a little bit too far out. But again, they've got so much sustain on Owie here, with Brain Sap being able to soak away a bunch of HP, as well as being able to have Dazzle in the nearby area with the Grave ready. I don't think they find this kill, but again, that early smoke that can end up coming out, if you do end up doing that, Gyrocopter, I don't think he can necessarily kill the Huskar, but if Quap gets levels, that rotation might be good enough.
Yeah, and Smash he's, going the cross Wex, so ganking him is going to get a little bit harder for their lineup, and maybe he can even make something happen. There's going to be a nice EMP, and you're right, he's stuck in it because of the fissure coming out. The hasted God, he's trying to go and catch him out there. Does he have any other points and something? Oh, he's going to try to suicide to creeps. Oh, he's got it. Okay, never mind. He's dead.
God.
M-God drawing the aggro. I actually thought for sure the creeps had it, and M-God had made a little mistake, stutter stepping, but he knew what to do. He was drawing aggro. And yeah, a nice kill on the mid, and Smash's lane. So Invoker traditionally doesn't actually win mid matchups against someone like Alina, but when you're getting a kill, your odds looking a lot better.
Yeah, definitely. And that early rotations, like this is the thing that, a lot of times the Earthshakers were able to do in old patches is move around, get early kills in lanes, just make the most of it. And what ended up happening to really counteract this is the fact that we've been seeing more and more dual lanes. And while Earthshaker can make a gank happen in the mid lane, he's not always the best at being able to win a dual lane mid. And so the fact that we're not seeing that out of Digital Chaos this time around is going to leave open the vulnerability here from the Lina.
Yeah, I also feel like they've done a good job. Lina, unfortunately, doesn't have any ward vision protecting her, while they do have one. Oh, we've got an engagement on the bottom. Invoker's even here. This time the fissure connects. Going to be no mana for the Huskar, and they actually could cold embrace Masoku. He should be fine. 5 spears. He's taking a lot. I actually... Okay, he's fine.
That was close.
Yeah. I think if he got, like, one more spear, it actually would have been tick out, and a good job on the cold embrace. But that's another nice reason to have the Huskar. Obviously, you can burning spears through cold embrace.
The rotations here out of Elite Wolves have been ridiculous. I mean, that's an Invoker level 4 roaming down to the safe lane, smoked on up with the Earthshaker, and he's allowed to do that and capable of doing that because he ends up pushing out the Lave after you end up seeing the gank on UR, and so that leaves open the possibilities for him to move on down there to the bottom lane and get a quick kill on the Huskar. And if you're able to shut down this early game draft, it's so spectacular for you going into the later stages. 1437 now does end up needing to go on back there. He might end up going down to the tick damage. Is he going to end up popping in base? No, the Shadow Wave's going to keep him alive, but a little bit dicey there, as he certainly didn't want to end up getting killed in the fountain.
And we can see, even with the early kill, Invoker having a really hard time CSing. Part of that is because he actually left the lane. But also, just look at the damage difference. This is part of the power of why people go Invoker Exort. You get so much more damage. And this Invoker is sitting at, 65 damage, while your War is already at 72. It's not easy. And will this gank connect? Because they want it. Oh, there's the EMP, the tornado as well. Even Quap is here. These rotations coming out. Bane gonna see if she can maybe get something onto the Queen of Pain, but I think Quap just gonna walk away. Owie's trying to go for the Nightmare, but he's not able to. It's nighttime. No vision.
That was close. That was so close. And all right, so let's take a look at how much this is actually translated into a win. Like, DC is ahead in terms of net worth, despite the fact that they're down 2-5. And it is dropping because of that last kill, but the fact that these rotations have come so early means that they haven't really gotten all of the farm that you would normally expect out of these heroes. I still think that it's worth it, but Huskar is top of the net worth right now, despite the fact that he's died at this point, what is that? I guess just once, or twice now. One of them being an early kill. I don't know, a little bit crazy to me that that's happened with all these rotations.
I think also while the rotations are certainly good, I think most of what they're doing is making sure that Smash isn't super losing this lane. And as you're accurately pointing out, both safe laners are kind of not being touched too much. The Huskar had a bit of disruption. Other than that, he's now back to having a free lane. And as I say that, though, folks are rotating down. So going to be a bit of an Arctic Burn action. I don't think they'll get anything, especially not with Dazzle nearby. Although Invis Dazzle probably not the ganking hero that you want as a Huskar.
No, he's not going to be able to find a kill here, but at least is going to be able to mess around a little bit more. Sorry for having any in-game sound audios, by the way. Trying my very best to make this work, but a couple of issues coming up in the early stages. Now we end up getting another initiation. Yawar is going to end up going down again. I believe the Nightmare might be able to save this one, and we do not have enough mana for Laguna Blade. Does end up just coming back right now, and there's Smash going to end up falling in the end, but the rotation on in by the Gyrocopter, that's going to be a kill onto the Bane, so 1 for 1 is the trade, but I'll take a Bane for an Invoker every single day of the week. Actually, reverse that because I said it wrong.
Now, we have... It's really interesting. I have to say this Earthshaker, he is being really great about landing his fissures. It is something you mentioned before. Earthshakers have dropped off a bit in popularity in favor of heroes like the Tusk, who, by the way, wasn't in that ban or draft, unless I'm crazy. I'm pretty sure he wasn't banned. But most people think Ice Shards, Snowball, easier way to set up kills. This Earthshaker is blocking people out with his fissure and maybe going to go for another, although Bulba on this Doxia, this is a really hard kill, and instead just drops a Vision Ward that Bulba, it's nighttime, so I'm not quite sure if he had vision of that.
Yeah, well, regardless, I mean, there's a reason that they ended up calling the Tusk Shards, the mini fissure, because this is the original way you ended up doing, the original way you ended up making these kills happen. And obviously, Earthshaker's damage is not as immense as the Tusk is once you get to that mid game. But if he's able to get that Blink Dagger, all of a sudden your damage curve peaks way, way up. And I think that E-Wolves have a great lineup for being able to sort of secure themselves the high ground. They're not going to get broken very easily by the side of DC because you've got, Sonic Wave. If we do end up seeing the Queen of Pain go for an Aghanim Scepter this game, I don't know, do you think that that's the item here? I feel like it's pretty necessary
deal with
against the Huskar.
So you've got two different ways this can go. A lot of it, the Co-op's not getting the worst of farm. She's also not... Okay, she'd get the bounty for a second there, I was worried. She's also not getting the best. If her farm were really dominant, I would actually suggest the Orchid here because there are a number of supports and maybe even the dogs here. And the Lina, if you're lucky, you can just Orchid pick them off as a co-op, but I don't know if her farm's going to be good enough. She's hitting good timing on that 6, but her lost hits aren't the best even though she has a lot of kills. Aghanims, of course, it's great. You can use it more frequently for wave clear if they're pushing at your door, and of course there's always the Huskar to deal with, but you have to hold that thing, that means, and you have to use it to kill the Huskar, because that's when he takes the least magic damage, so I don't know. It does make using your ult really rough.
Yeah.
Either way, probably going to try to go for both, but if she's poor, she might go for Ags first. It gets rough, though, if you just have the Ags, because you don't have enough mana, and you're going to want a BKB this game, probably, to deal with Husk and Lina, so...
Yeah, it's definitely a pretty scary situation to be running into all this match with him. If we do end up having a couple more rotations down here towards the bot lane, I'm not exactly sure why IWO is here. I think that he's expecting a gank in the mid lane, maybe, and hoping to try and turn that back around, but with all of the heroes here, actually they are going to be able to find out the Earthshaker now. Laguna Blade committed. There's going to be the Brain Sap and a quick kill as Bane picks that one up on the Earthshaker there. Definitely a little bit scary, and while he has roamed around and been able to get a decent amount, he is only sitting on brown boots as well as that magic stick, and is a long ways away from picking up any type of Blink Dagger. Currently the second lowest in terms of net worth in this game.
Also, level 4, it's not uncommon with the amount these supports are roaming, so a lot of the supports are low here, but, Wyvern has a super important ult. Of course, the Echo Slam, even before you have the Blink, is fantastic. The Weave, great spell, Bane's Fiend's Grip. I mean, these supports need their 6s, and whichever side hits them first, we're going to see probably a few quick pickoffs because of that, so... Yeah. Also, this game is really close. I want to stress that. You talked about it. We're 4-6. That's relatively even in the grand scheme of things, but we're also within a 1,000 gold and experience lead for both sides, so both teams doing really well.
Quap is thinking about it. She really wants to go for this one. 290 pure damage is the what we're looking for here, but I don't think the Huskar is going to drop on down to that. Worth noting also in the top lane, they're pushing on out this creep wave, trying to apply a little bit of pressure to the tier 1, but the tower is finally down now by the Huskar.
Quap's trying to get bait when he'll omelet toggle and she misses. She just used a 130 cooldown. I mean, on one hand, it's like if you didn't use it, it's like you didn't use it, I mean, like, if you don't ever if you don't ever black hole for the first 15 minutes, it's the same as whiffing a black hole, but now it does key DC into the fact that they won't need to worry about Quap ult for another about 115 seconds at this point, so they can maybe play more aggressively, knowing that the Quap isn't coming in to back them up.
I wonder almost if at that point Huskar was sort of expecting Quap to come out, because she wasn't showing anywhere else on the map there isn't really anywhere else that you would expect the Queen of Pain to be, and just to be able to have that presence of mind to know to turn off the armlet toggle right before the wave ends up coming on in. Meanwhile, we do have Bulba continuing to try and farm on out this hard camp over here with Dazzle in the area as well. There's going to be the Invoker jumping in, able to get the EMP off. Bulba dropping pretty low, doesn't end up committing the Winter's Curse to this one as well. Nice Fissure going to be able to connect onto the Dazzle, but I don't think that they find that kill. Unfortunately, MGod not able to block off there. But 4 heroes rotating on in and able to take on out that Darkseer. Not the worst thing in the world for a 600 gold change.
And it's one of those things where, again, early Winter's Curse usage, totally fine, they got the kill, and especially since they rotated 4 heroes there, they needed to get something, otherwise the rotation becomes almost worthless. So a nice job by them getting that on up.
You know, I talked about the fact that I felt like we were going to see an early point in Exort just to be able to get the level and alacrity up for E-Wolves, but now that I'm looking at this lineup a little bit more, it's not necessarily the best. If you're going to be going for Quas Wex, all that the extra point, all the fact that you get from alacrity is bonus attack speed, which Gyrocopter doesn't care that much about. If Smash was going for an Exort build, then definitely he would want to be able to get that early point in Wex, so that way he boosts up the damage. But I like this, just to be able to, increase the amount that you get from the EMP, the duration of the tornadoes. I think this is the right build here by Smash.
Yeah. It's the damage. Oh, let's see what we've got. Okay, that was it. It's the duration, the distance of the tornado. It's the damage on the tornado, as you said. It's the EMP mana drain. You can't necessarily split it in this case, and maybe you can argue it would help a bit later against the Huskar, but if you can just avoid those fights until Invoker gets the bomb or the levels more accurately that he needs, you're going to be good. Nice big Ancient stack coming out for going to be cleared by the Gyrocopter at some point. Whoa. But okay, that's an invisible Dazzle. I was a bit worried.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to be running on into the jungle in the middle of an Invoker and everybody else there. So he is quietly going to scoot on away from the rest of those foes. And Aoi down here in the bottom lane, getting solo experience, is now level 6, working his way towards level 7. And Bane is definitely one of those heroes that can scale incredibly well with the amount of damage that he does. As soon as he gets that level 7, it's going to be a 300 pure damage nuke. On top of that, a 14-second cooldown. You can use those twice in a fight if you're able to get the amount of mana to do it, and with those, arcane boots, he's going to be able to make that happen. Also worth noting, they're able to sort of at least slow down this stack a little bit. I'm assuming that we're going to see Io move back on in there once the flat cannon comes off of cooldown and finish off that stack.
Yeah, definitely not quite the damage output needed to do this yet. That's another thing that might happen. You have to be a little bit careful about armlet toggling against a Gyrocopter. It all depends. I mean, it's only 6 shots of flat cannon every 30 seconds. But if you're in a teamfight engagement, you go for that armlet toggle, you don't realize Gyrocopter, maybe he's the max 1,000 units away, and suddenly you're going down. But we have a rotation up top. We have Quap hiding in the trees up that has a Dagon. Okay, I don't think we were wrong to not suggest that. It's interesting here. It will maybe help with her pick-off potential. I mean, there are some low heroes right now, but I certainly wasn't expecting that.
I have to throw in a little anecdote here. Yesterday in the games with Elite Wolves up against Archon, I believe it was, in the yesterday series, we ended up seeing Van go for Nature's Prophet, who went first big item Dagon. So apparently this is an item that this guy really likes, and it's not negligible. It is going to be a 400 damage nuke that comes out at this stage in the game. It's definitely really great for being able to burst down the heroes. It's not going to be great for bursting down Huskar, that said. So need to be able to save that Sonic Wave for. I guess the other thing there is if you do end up Dagoning the Huskar first, you bring him down into a range where maybe you can Sonic Wave him.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting.
That's definitely the way I've seen this done before. I've definitely seen folks pull the I'm going to use a lot of my magic damage on you, Huskar, and then suddenly blow, of course, my other spells. And yeah, oh goodness, yep.
Oh, I don't know if you needed the Sonic Wave there. That's another 135-second cooldown, but regardless, Van is going to make that happen, and Tier 1 tower going to fall bottom.
So, and yeah, are you sure this is Van playing on the Quap?
I am not sure, but I'm
okay, because I
have
had Van on my. I had the team captains. Maybe it's his secondary account, because his other account it isn't his main account. I'm like super confused, but yeah, no, it could. Let's just say go with it being Van. Probably is. The other reason the Dagon might be nice here is just what he did, although not in that exact scenario. If you can pick off the support for the Huskar, he's not nearly that scary. The Huskar's scary when he's chilling at to what? Like he's chilling at like 20% health. Oh, we're gonna have a tornado. Will there be any follow-up? Doesn't look like it. When he's chilling at 200 health, also when he's got the Guardian Greaves buff where he's regenerating 15 health, you know, because he's below 20% of his health, he's got 15 extra armor. Like that's when he's scary. He's got a Dazzle backing him up. If you kill the Dazzle, if you kill the Bane or Bulba, all of these supports with something like a Dagon immediately, maybe you don't have to worry.
The other thing to keep in mind here is, like, you saw how aggressive Huskar was being in that last little engagement. Every single time that he is not going to be, every single time the Queen of Pain ulti is off of cooldown, or on cooldown, he doesn't have to worry about anything pretty much. Like, you're not going to be able to burst him down, you're not going to be able to right-click him down, and he's just going to be able to get away with being incredibly aggressive. Now as level 11, so 4 points in Berserker's Blood, 4 points in Burning Spears, 2 points in Inner Vitality. He's exactly where he wants to be. We are going to see Io move on in here and take on out these creep waves. Lina Illusion is going to be scouting it out, and unfortunately, I think Gyrocopter now realizes that's an illusion, but this also means that DC realizes there's a huge Ancient stack here to contest.
Now, TC, not sure whether this is going to be a Heaven's Halberd, because he's got an Ogre Club. Could be Heaven's Halberd. Could be a BKB. It's not... I think the BKB is actually quite nice here. Obviously, there's an Invoker, there's an Earthshaker, but also so that you're not attacking your allies, although, yeah, he does have the Burning Spears toggled on. So we're going to be seeing Yules setting up, but the immediate Winter's Curse coming out. Actually, Splinter Blast the wrong target, but Beethoven, he is stuck taking a lot of that. One Nightmare is going to reduce a bit of the damage. There is a life break onto Masuku, but he immediately drops that ult, and now it doesn't matter. He's going to be going down. There's going to be a short stun onto TC, but he's still taking barely any damage. Sonic Wave, where is it? He's deleted before she can use it. And now Invoker Smash needs to get out of there. He's going to take the dunk, and he has no way out. Cold Embrace isn't going to save him. And Quap even buys back knowing that she has the Sonic Wave, but I think this is too little too late.
Oh god, that's really unfortunate. So much damage coming out really quickly. A clutch Grave, able to keep alive that Lina at the last second, and then the turnaround with the Laguna Blade, a 2,400 gold swing as well as 1,600 experience. TC's just going to meander on in here and be able to take this on out, but now TC is going to be able to jump all up inside the face of this Gyrocopter. That's going to be a quick kill, and that is really not what you want to have happen for Elite Wolves. DC doing what they need here with TC. Looks like maybe they're going to try and reinitiate yet again. They do have the Queen of Pain off to the side, wanting to wait for the setup here. This is going to be a Brain Sap. Nightmare can come out in a second. Dagon going to be able to kill him off the Dark Tier. That's going to be the Yule Scepter up, going to be able to control the Queen of Pain a little bit longer. One more right click is going to do that one, and now Masuku in a little bit of trouble. Do end up using the Shallow Grave again onto Aoi, but I think that he's going to be perfectly fine here. Look at TC on this killing spree. They do end up throwing out the EMP, but to what end? All the creep camp is dead now, and they're just going to walk away from that one. Huge win for DC.
Yeah, it's... The long story short is E-Wolves are getting Huskar'd. It's something where they need to now avoid fighting against this guy for a little bit. They need a few items. Obviously, if the Earthshaker had a bit more farm, I mean, he's nowhere near a Blink Dagger, but a bit more farm on the Earthshaker, Invoker having up that Orchid, you can maybe do something in these team fights. But right now, you have nothing to deal with that. Your cooldown, while good damage, has no follow-up because the Queen of Pain gets blown up with her Dagon. I mean, how much health does she have? Probably around... Well, we'll see when she spawns. She's level 10, so it might be a bit larger. Yeah, I was gonna... Yeah, sub 900.
I mean, all right, so experience-wise, about a 7,500 net worth lead. Excuse me, 7,500 net worth lead, about the same for experience. The other thing to keep in mind here, we already have the mech up on Bulba, probably going to be building into that Guardian Greaves next. There's always the chance that if he wanted to, he could go for the Blink Dagger, but I don't honestly think that they need that crazy initiation. All that they need to do is to be able to keep this Huskar alive, and I don't see with the really great Dazzle play we've been finding. Oh god, I might be in a little bit of trouble here. Doing up getting the Yule Scepter up, a Laguna Blade is back up again, and he is going to end up falling. This is the danger of being able to run a Gyrocopter without a defensive support always by him, and if you do end up running that defensive support by him all the time, he's going to be sharing experience. It's just such a rough matchup with all this burst damage.
Another problem, I think, unfortunately, is Gyrocopter has maxed Rocket. Normally, so it makes sense against a Doxia, but it does mean that he doesn't have the points in Flat Cannon that you would normally want. It's part of why he was having trouble with the stacks and so on. It's taking him so long. Oh, what? Okay, Beta, you are just casually auto attacks down. Earthshaker, that's fine. Just Lina things. Also, she has a Shadow Blade. I mean, this is how you kill a Quap. So, it's looking really rough for Elite Wolves. I have to imagine... Oh, and they even steal the Catapult, TC. What a guy. Now this Catapult has 1,400 health as well. That's actually a pain. So he's just gonna chill here. They might even burn. Like, he might No, so he's gonna be fine. I was thinking maybe Quap will think about burning one life there, but TC wouldn't care if that were the case.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I was looking at that and I was thinking, all right, he's definitely a little bit low, but with the Aegis there, I think that he's perfectly fine if Quap ends up popping ulti on that as well as the Dagon, because once he ends up coming back to life, they have no way to deal with him. So I'm wrong. It's actually going to be the Blink Dagger up for Bulba, wanting another way to be able to break high ground. That was something that I talked about earlier, is that they have a little bit of trouble with it, and this is going to be their route to get on into high ground, is a jump forward, vacuum into maybe a light strike array. Of course, Yarwar going for the Shadow Blade instead of the Blink Dagger means that the follow-up's going to be a little bit more difficult if they want to try for that combo, but I think that this makes more sense as well, because now you can just instill that fear into Elite Wolves. They can never leave their base comfortably for fear of the Lina jumping out and being able to Laguna Blade them.
Yeah, no, and I think it's a perfectly fine pickup here. You want to keep the Quap nice and low. She's already had to expend a buyback. She's, you know, 5th on the net worth charts. You keep her down. It puts her further and further away from that Ags. That Ags is what they're afraid of pushing into. And so if they can shut her down, if they can get this lost tier 2, they really don't have to worry about anything.
You mentioned also the point in maxing out Rocket. M-God is going to end up being able to get out of this one as he just TPs away from the Huskar. I agree with you that it definitely hurts his ability to farm, but it's kind of also a situation where they need more ways to lock down this Huskar by any means necessary, and he's kind of been forced into this role a little bit, because you want to be able to, you know, go for the max farming build, but if you do that against this lineup, you're just going to get rolled over. That being said, they're kind of just getting rolled over anyways, so I don't know if it mattered a ton, but I don't know. We'll see how this ends up going from here. I am really concerned about Elite Wolves as this game continues.
I really think he just did it for the Darkseer in lane, just because it's only 0.6 seconds added to the stun. Yeah, that can make a lot of difference in Dota, but not sure if it's going to here. I think Earthshaker having a bit more farm, of course, would help, but that's never going to happen. Now, Invoker has a gem up. He has half of an Orchid, and I don't know what he's going to do with all of these things, but it's definitely the start of something, and he can always, as we talked about, they have decent wave clear. They can Splinter Blast, they can Fissure, they can maybe lock someone inside their base. They're going to try to get a tower instead, which I do like. You have to try and get a win where you can.
The bigger problem here is that Elite Wolves aren't here to be able to defend against this. I mean, they can commit the Winter's Curse for this, but everybody's TPing in. It's going to take a little bit longer for them to get here. Gyrocopter now tossing on out that rocket. They do also have the EMP that's going to come out, but he's going to be back in just a second. Even if they end up bringing him down, Fissure going to connect onto TC. But look at the sustain.
Oh gosh, they actually need to wait a few. If they can wait like 30 seconds, they're gonna lose the tower. But if they could wait 30 seconds, he wouldn't have the Aegis anymore. It's very close for TC with the timing on this Aegis going down, and it's, oh, how long does he have? Okay, yeah, he has like 20 seconds. So if they can time this right, they might be able to get both of his lives, but it's not looking like that's gonna be the case.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, he's not going down anytime soon. He is dropping a little bit low. Even if the Aegis ends up expiring, just look at how much sustain he's got. It's ridiculous. Everybody's sitting behind him. They are going to be wrapping around, though. Maybe going to be able to find an initiation here with the Earthshaker coming in from behind. The Aegis does end up expiring now. Maybe going to be able to find this kill. He is really, really far in there, but at the same time, the rest of Elite Wolves is not in a position to be able to follow this back up. Gyrocopter ends up getting hit by the Light Strike Array. If they back out right now, they're going to end up running on the Earthshaker. Nice there, Bulba, but he gets saved in the end. Shallow Grave doing what it needs. That's going to be a Fiend's Grip in on top of the Quap, taking damage from the Illusions. M-God is running on through him, but what can he do? He is just a lonely Earthshaker without an Echo Slam, and meanwhile, up in the base, DC is just ripping on through that Gyrocopter. So much damage. Armlet toggling for victory. Oh God, what are you going to do against this? Gem now on the ground as well.
I think it's GG.
Another kill.
I wouldn't be surprised if they call it now. They've got a few buybacks that they can use, but I wouldn't be surprised if the GG call is coming out. And I think the wraparound was a nice attempt, but there was, I don't know how much chance there was that would actually work. Trying to take out Bulba on the back lines just, I mean, wasn't enough, and you have to get the dazzle, otherwise he stops all of your attempts at killing people. So they know. I think Evil's probably just taking a few seconds to decide on what will be their next play in the next game, whether it's just ban Huskar or not.
Well, the other thing here also is that we didn't talk about it a ton. That play was super telegraphed. You saw Huskar diving into your tier 4s essentially, and you're like, oh, there's no Earthshaker, there's no Quap, I wonder where they are. You know, like I think that they kind of knew what was going to end up happening there, and DC just playing it really, really well. That's kind of been the story of this game. GG ends up getting called. They're going to move on to the next one. Thank you guys very much for watching and joining us. Llama, any thoughts before we end up moving on to the next game here?
I mean, I think it was pretty obvious that the Huskar was coming out. I think maybe E-Wolves weren't expecting it because it wasn't that fourth pick, it was the fifth instead, or they thought that they had a strategy to play against it, right? We also don't know. This could be Ewolves saying, let's actually test our mettle against a Huskar. We've seen teams do that before. So that could have been the case. But either way, I think getting rid of that combo, not letting Digital Chaos have heroes they're so comfortable with. I mean, I feel like Aoi was one of the first people to spam pick the Bane. So disrupting a bit of that could help them out. It's game one. Hopefully, we'll see this series through to a game three, because I think E-Wolves is a great team.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys yet again for watching. I'm going to try and sort out any audio issues, beat my microphone against my face, and hopefully that ends up fixing it. Until next time, we'll see you guys in just a second. Game 2, Elite Wolves versus DC. Stick around.